It's sort of the usual process in that we did research first and foremost, and then talked to a number of citizens, had citizen meetings, talked with students on all levels, high school and grade level, elementary students, and from that we were able to gather ideas and put together a plan, actually.
We looked at the Rock Hill video last year when the sentences were vacated with the Friendship 9. So the impetus of the project was the Friendship 9 and the vacating of their sentences for trespassing. And so, we looked at the video where, the judge opened up the docket book, and the idea of opening up the book was the big idea for the walkway. And you can see the brick is flowing, and also the reference to the Catawba River, and you can see that kind of flowing through, throughout the site. And then we also have areas of the basket weave patterning, which was a reference to the tradition of the Catawba Indians and their tradition of basket weaving, and the plants of Rock Hill. You can see, the spider lilies and the pollinator, the sphinx moths, and we have sunflowers and celebrating the dogwoods on the top of the wall, celebrating the native plants of Rock Hill. We have symbols embedded throughout this walkway, so it's really a journey.
So I think from not only other projects, but my experiences in living in this country, the idea of the Friendship 9, 1961 and all of that, I'm old enough to remember that. And so with that in mind, I was pulling from those experiences as well.
I think it's very important, that there is this history here and that we don't forget about the history. This happened in 1961, but there are things happening today in our world. And, the idea of turbulence and obstacles and some of these symbols that we have in this walkway is just as appropriate, today as it was back in 1961.
I think most importantly, it acknowledges where Rock Hill has been, what it has gone through, what it continues to go through. We never imagine, you see, that this whole process of striving for, in terms of achieving freedom, that we have actually arrived there. It's an ongoing process. So I think it's important to acknowledge, again, where we have been and where we are today, and our hopes for the future.
Things have improved, but we've got a lot of work to go. We do. I mean, we are seeing this as a place of healing and coming together. And, just like the basket weave, it was this idea of coming together, where you have these bands of red and chocolate bricks that come together in these gathering places. So it's a hopeful walkway, but we have a lot of work to do.
I think it's always important when we have the opportunity to comment on or to create something that will be lasting, that represents sort of a place in time, but again, to acknowledge it, to get the other citizens to also be involved in that process, because oftentimes, and it's really interesting that I've talked to so many people who say, well, I never really thought about that, that has not been my experience. So it seems to be off the map in a way. So I think it's important to make people aware.
When we started looking at this project, there was the deteriorated Woolworth building, and the city decided to demolish it to make way for a new apartment and retail building and this walkway. And we didn't even know about the advertisement. So that was kind of a discovery, that when the building came down, we saw all this history. And so we decided that we wanted to preserve it, and that our layer would eventually just become another layer of Rock Hill history.
I think it was more about creating something that would be lasting, beautiful, engaging, informative, and I guess also to provide some people with something to think about.
I always want for the project to be well used, to be appreciated, for people to get excited about, but ultimately I want it to be loved. I want people in Rock Hill to feel proud of this. I just want, I just want it to be part of their everyday life, and to, enhance the quality of life of living in downtown Rock Hill. And, to give people, when they walk through this walkway, hopefully they leave changed in some way.